Hello everyone, my name's Thomas, and welcome to Sodor, where me and my friends work on this railway and be really useful. Have you ever done a prank to someone multiple times to the point you got some payback from that person? Well, that happened to my best friend, Percy. He's been very cheeky to the bigger engines, and they were very annoyed with him to the point they teased him back to see how he likes it. Let me tell you this story. Percy is a green saddle tank engine with a number 6. He works hard at the big station, but he can be a very cheeky engine. Indeed, one day, he was very cheeky to the big engines. When Gordon was at the sidings, he told him that his train was ready, and that made him think he was late. But when Percy showed him some coal trucks, Gordon got very cross and was figuring out how to get him back. Later that day, Percy played a trick on James. He told him the Fat Controller was coming to see him. I thought, James, the Fat Controller knows I'm a fine engine. He wants me to pull a special train. James didn't know it was a prank. He stayed at the shed and refused to move, so the other engines had to do his jobs instead. He continued to stay in the sheds until the inspector came to talk to him. The Fat Controller told me to stay here, said James. He sent a message this morning. He did not, how could he? He's away for a week. It was at that moment where James realized that Percy tricked him, and he left the sheds to find him. But Percy was already far gone. He found his tricks very funny. But when the Fat Controller came back, he was very disappointed at the two engines. One morning, Percy was being cheeky again and tried to be funny to the bigger engines. The Fat Controller must think I'm a really useful engine because he chose me to take some trucks to Thomas Junction. But Gordon and James did listen. They decided it was time to have their payback from all the pranks Percy did. James and I were just talking about signals at the junction. Said Gordon, we can't be too careful about signals, but I wouldn't say that to a really useful engine like you, Percy. We've been talking about backing signals. Explain, James, they need extra care. You know, would you like me to explain? No, thank you, James. I know all about signals. Percy was flattered, but he was also wondering what backing signals are. He soon found out when he had to stop at a signal. When the sign finally changed, it went up instead of down. He had never seen one like that before. Down means go, and up means stop, so up still must mean go back. He thought it was a backing signal, just like what Gordon and James told him about. So he went backwards, and his driver shouted at him to stop. But it's a backing signal, and he told his driver about backing signals. His driver laughed and explained to him that it's not even a thing. Percy felt embarrassed. Let's get out of here before someone sees us. But it was too late. Gordon saw everything and laughed at him. After Percy did his job, he went to the sheds where the bigger engines were at. Gordon told James everything, and they laughed at him. But Percy thought they were being silly and tried to find a way to get them back. He will find a way somehow, but couldn't think of anything. And that's how Percy got what he had coming from messing with the bigger engines. Just remember that if you mess with someone you shouldn't have, you would get what you have coming. I better get back to work so I can be a really useful engine. Come back soon and I'll tell you another story. See you later.